It's what?
It's been
I
a
thought you
bit.
said thought you said something else.
Oh, well, maybe that too. No, life is good. Life is good. It's going to be 90 degrees here next week. It's warm. It's nice. It's smells.
Nice. I can't wait. Even outside right now here in Michigan, it's what is it, like 84?
Yes, I know because the sprinkler guys are coming to turn everything on Friday, and I'm like, we're supposed to get rain though the next couple of days. If we get a little bit of rain, we'll be fine. But I'm like, my grass is gonna die. So, anywho,
Condo. I don't care.
have to worry about the grass. No,
Oh, the best part? Hold on, hold on. It was fantastic. So I ended up leaving the condo, came back maybe 2 hours later, and they cut all the shrubs down, and they didn't pick up because the pickup crew was coming behind. Like, you could see, like, the different crews coming through. Like, the one that was cutting, one was prepping, one was cutting, and one was cleaning. Like, it was very systematic, super systematic. And so, when I pulled up, I knew that the cleaning crew was like, a building or 2 away. And, so I just walk up and I stepped over all the clippings and just entered in. And I didn't have to do anything. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Super excited. Oh, it was wonderful.
I'll let you take the floor when it comes to that because I know you have some doozy stories. But I always tell them, like, I would never buy a home. Now, unless you're an investor, that's going to be, you already know you're going to be pulling stuff out or you're going to basically be rehabbing it yourself and you know how to fix stuff, and you know what to look for. Unless you're an investor, you need an inspection. This is a big purchase. And if somebody ever told me, nope, I don't want to get an inspection, there is a form. My office called it the idiot form. I didn't say that, but the office called it just to cover yourself because, like, you don't want someone coming back and saying, oh my goodness, she told me not to get an inspection and look at all these problems. Exactly. Exactly. So I'm not getting sued. So I always tell my buyers, you absolutely have to get an inspection because there are some nightmare stories. So I'd love to hear your biggest nightmare story of someone who potentially didn't even get an inspection. Because I know you've had people that didn't even get an inspection and they just went all in and buy.
Anybody who's just joining us didn't catch up. We've been live for going on 4 minutes. And we are going to be discussing the home inspection process. So let me tell you really quickly, that is in the beginning of when you purchase a home. You put an offer in, you go under contract. The next step is to order this inspection. And we have a grace period. So in the real estate world, Holly over here, who is with EXP, will get that set up. Me as a lender, I don't need to see this report. However, I hear about this and I have to wait till after the inspection is done for us to even start the loan process. We send out disclosures, get that ready, but until I get that thumbs up and the green light, I cannot proceed forward. So this is a very big point to be on, is that inspection period. Would they get 7 days for the inspection period, Holly, depending on the negotiations?
Depends on if it needs well and septic. It depends on the kind of offers we're up against, multiple offers. If we have to be, if we have to get it done quicker, because, sellers are nervous. That's like the biggest, sellers really aren't typically nervous about appraisal. My sellers aren't because I've already done all that. And I'm like, look, we've got comps, we're good. But yeah, the inspection they're a little nervous about and they feel like they're on pins and needles. So anyone who's going to give them a lesser time to get it done faster, they're gonna look at that as like a huge thing. So
Right? Or is this a stop? That's what I care about as a lender. Oh,
Will blow up a deal, buyers walk away, they can't come to terms, and they're like, forget about it. So then you are, yeah. Okay, so we just lost Cece. I'm not really sure. Oh, there she is. But yeah, why don't we get into some horror stories? Because I think that's what people came for. They want to hear the good, the bad, and the dirty. Yeah, you're back. I was gonna say, let's get into some horror stories because I think that's what people want to hear.
not the logistics, but I just kind of want to go over like the timeline where we're at. So, one of mine actually had an inspection. She had the inspection. There were 7 days to go. She had an inspector come out, took pictures. Everything was fine. Everything was fine. We went through the appraisal process and then we closed on the house. Why this is a nightmare is that this was in the winter time. So he couldn't get a look at the roof very well. He didn't look around the house good enough. And all of a sudden the client is blowing my phone up, blowing up, going, "Who do I need to sue?" I'm like, "Well, you just they want to sue us. They wanted to sue the agent, but not one time did she mention the inspector. So I'm sitting there, I'm letting her talk, I'm letting her vent. It sounded like she needed to vent to somebody. So I let her vent. I didn't interrupt her. I didn't do anything like that. I just let this client she had to unleash it. And I'm like, okay, first and foremost, you can take the appraiser off the table because it is not the appraiser's job to tell you what's hazardous inside the house. It's for true value. His purpose is to find out the true value of the home, not their safe and safety and health issues. Excuse me, safety and health issues. For a government loan, they look at peeling paint. Yes, GFIs, handrails, but that's pretty much the extent of it. The roof, if the roof can pass, that's great. But she had a conventional loan, and that was up to the after the snow thawed out, that at the outside of the house, there was an exposed 220 outlet. Like, there was no plate cover. It was wires hanging out live, a 220 live wires that her kids were gonna that ended up touching it or something. Then there was a roof issue. So finally, I let her vent and went through everything. And I'm like, so out of everybody who did not know that it was there, we don't know it's there as a lender. So we're off the table. We're good. The appraiser off the table. Now that's up to you, the appraiser and the inspector. You had an inspection. Sorry, the agent, because I went through my
Clearly have nothing to do with it. It's in the contract. Like, you do your due diligence. It has nothing to do with us.
even showed her the house and made her fall in love with it, was her thinking.
Said, grabbed her, threw her in the car, and said, "You must see this house." Did she tie her up too? Did she use zip ties?
Could tell. So here she is, she's upset. And now I understand that she's upset, like a live 220 wire hanging outside the house with that's not good. That's not good. So finally, after she vented, I'm like, okay, who was the inspector? Oh, well, I'm like, that's who you should be going after. Oh, it's her uncle.
So she got a deal and didn't want to point the finger at herself for being a cheapskate. You
Yeah. That's
going to move the snow around to look.
So now she's upset and she's not gonna go after the uncle for not protecting her. So she wants to throw everybody else under the bus. Me, the appraiser, the listing agent, the buyer's agent, everybody but the inspector who should have done his job. Yeah. So that's so the reason I want to bring up the story is because it's a family member. You think that she didn't even pay him. So what are the
So
ramifications?
did she really say anything?
She saved no. And then I
No,
guess
because
there
now
was
she's got a problem.
no, correct. And then there was another issue in the basement, how the wall was, or there's something within the basement. Basically, she needed to get an excavator, dig down, and it's gonna cost her like $8,000. Whatever it was quoted at $8,000. And she's upset. There was nothing in the photos. I actually went through the appraisal and I missed like there was no evidence of anything. But there must be something now. I don't know. But yeah, she called and that's what you get when you have a family member who's not licensed.
That up. So in the state of Michigan, there's no licensing for inspectors, but there is you can be certified. So NACHI, NAACHI, North American Association, I don't know what the C is for home inspections. And that's basically, and there's another one too. So the best you can do, and we should say something to our government because you don't have to be licensed, and I think they should have to be licensed. The different states are different. But yeah, so there's no license that you have to hold, but you want your inspector to at least have that certification. Because if they won't even do that, that tells you a lot, like their commitment to their field.
Her talk and then I responded. And the one person she didn't mention was an inspector who actually would be to blame.
If they choose to do that, that's on them. Like again, you it's the same kind of mentality of somebody who would try to list and sell their house by themselves. So many legal issues. You're going to get less money at the end of the day, but they think they're saving. You're not saving. You always get what you pay for. You always get what you pay for. You have to know that you get what you pay for. Nervous because when you're up there, it's very different than just flying a drone over. I'm like, it's lazy in my opinion. If you can get up there, you really should. Because you can't feel like when you look at the granules on the shingle, like if you like try and and it starts to slough off, you know that it's old. Sometimes when you're flying things over, you can't feel and you can't really look good enough at stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't hire somebody who just used a drone, except for what you're saying. If it's in the wintertime and it's peaked the whole thing and it's just
the house is only 5 years old, built within 10 years, then that will have a big substantial choice in it. So that's, I don't know. So that is the biggest thing for me, is that even though I don't need to see the report, I don't want to see the report, it is important to get actually someone who is going to ultimately protect you and your family. So the next story that I have, which is huge and important, is we had a family member who was going to purchase this big, beautiful house up in, I would say, a little more, not in northern Michigan, but kind of up there, not in the city. And the house was gorgeous. It smelled great, new paint, everything. Well, that was alarming to the inspector, is that it all had brand new paint, like brand new, new spackle, new everything. It's lipstick on a pig. Oh, are you there? I can, and it's a green screen.
Was frozen and I was trying to fix it. So feel free to keep talking. I don't know what's going on. We're gonna
Technical
fix it.
issues. Technical.
Here I am.
Wait, reverse your camera. I
There
think
we go. I was pushing everything. I went for so long and I was like, well, I'm just gonna keep, gotta love it.
so. What I brought up is another story. And the story is the inspector actually started being a little suspicious. Brand new plaster, brand new paint. Everything was too clean. And so this was Ken's cousin who was looking for a home, Joe. And Joe loved this house. It was a very Spanish style house, which is very different in the area than most people would see. So they came in, and his inspector had one of those infrared cameras and could see where the cold cracks and the heats are coming in. Well, he was scanning through, and he actually saw a whole crack in a wall that they puttied or speckled over, because it's Spanish style home, and repainted. And that's what, from my understanding, if I remember the story correctly, this is how we figured out that they slapped lipstick on a pig. And this home was a $700,000 home 10 years ago. So now it's like at a million at least. Yeah, they would have been stuck having to bust out walls, redo walls. Oh man, then keep the architecture the same because it's a Spanish style home. You can't just go in and go, oh, let's get rid of this. It's not the regular square type of home with drywall. So he was saved, but it was that inspector who they trusted. And that, again, circling back to what I said, you should trust someone. The inspector is there to protect you and the new purchase of your home. So, again, videos, a report. And there's quite a few companies out there who I like and trust that I don't get to use all the time, because it's up to the individual. Like, I'll make a recommendation, but typically the real estate agents I work with have really good teams. I don't question them. Maybe in the newer agents, like, oh, do you have somebody? If not, use my person. And typically, I just go with the flow of like who you recommend. I like it. I like the inspectors that you've recommended. It has protected the families that we have spent so much time to get into their dream home. So, oh, it's huge.
Somebody's in a house and finding out it's a money pit. And so I wanted to, not a lot of people know, and I guess it depends where you live. So we should say we're in Michigan and we do have water table issues sometimes, right? Like we have some pumps in our basement. A lot of people are like, we don't even have basements. We do have basements, a lot of where we're at anyway, southeastern Michigan, a lot of basements. And unless you're really close to the water, a lot of times they don't, in different lakes and whatever. But so we do something called the sewer scope. So I always have clients who are buying a house, especially if it's built before 1980. And I don't know the exact year, it might even be 80s or 90s somewhere where the PVC, and I've heard that they didn't just have 1 year, they just started doing it. Builders started doing it where the pipes going out from your house, they used to have like the iron, like the iron, the raw iron, and then the pipes would go out and then it would turn into clay. So then there'd be clay out to the actual drain, the storm drain, the sewer system. Sorry. So what happens is as the system gets old enough, clay cracks. And what makes clay crack faster? Big trees. Why? Because big trees have big roots. Big roots dig down deep and they get in and they get into the cracks and they start to go put more roots. And then you have a system where you have to get it roto rooted or it just starts breaking it. So if it's a certain age home or if it's in an area when it just has a ton of trees everywhere, big mature trees, and sometimes I just say, you know what, it's not a bad idea just to do it. I always bring it up just because I want to cover myself and they'll say, do you think we should do it? I'll say, well, I, if I was buying a house, if I was buying it, I probably would do everything I could do, just to make sure everything is good. Let's see what it looks like, especially if no one's in the house and it's vacant and water's not constantly running through, right? So, one of the scenarios that we had with this is we did this. They didn't even get the camera in very far, and it was submersed in water, and the house was vacant. And the whole drain tile. So, what happens in your basement? It has a drain tile, um, whatever system. And sometimes it goes to the sump pump, right, to pump it out. But the drain tile, so it does that because if it takes in groundwater, it will fill up in the tiles and then it's supposed to go to the sump pump, push it out, or it will, leach back out the same way it came in. Well, it was just sitting there and it was literally ready to start flooding the house. So we didn't do any more. And I'm like, this is going to be very expensive. And not to mention in the basement, and we did see it. And I did mention to him, I'm like, look at the walls. There's been water down here. There's been substantial water because look how high up on the wall. I can see the lines. They didn't even try to cover it up. He still wanted to, he still liked it, wanted to. So we canceled that contract because I said, you know what? It's going to cost. It was an estate, and these people would have to pay for this to get done. They're just trying to offload this house, right? And you're going to be responsible for this, even if we change the purchase price. We can only get, again, you can only get so many concessions, right? You only get so much in concessions based on your loan product. And I already knew it. This was going to be a lot of money. They were going to have to come in and they were going to have to redo the whole thing. That means everything is just shot. The whole system is just shot.
Really quick. And I know I'm kinda going on a twist here, but after you get the inspection done, like what you said with the drain tiles, you pulled out of the contract. Now that the seller has been notified of this, does this have to go on the seller concessions for the next person who buys it? Wait, what did I say? Concessions? Oh my gosh. I'm in a whole different file in my head. I'm sorry.
So that's a gray area. The answer is yes and maybe. Yes, if I sent the part of the report or the video showing it, or just even the report from the inspector saying it. And even if I just tell the agent, technically it's a gray area because it's like, do they believe us, right? If I don't send them anything, that's why sometimes I'll ask agents, these are all the issues, would you like me to send you the report, like not the whole report but the parts, so that you can prove it? And every seller wants to see it because they want to make sure, they want to see it for themselves. But yes, once I send that over and now you have the evidence, you have to change your seller disclosures if it's something that is addressed on the seller disclosures, like water situations or the plumbing. One of the questions is, does your plumbing work, and any known issues with the plumbing system? Well, that's a huge known issue, so yeah, you'd have to disclose it. And if they don't, the issue is the new buyer could sue them, but they would have to find proof. How did they know? So the only way they'd be able to find proof is if they knew that I was under contract and had an inspection. They're not going to know that because my name doesn't go in anything that's pending, right? So it would only be if they happen to know that I was under contract with them. and the inspection failed. So but when you get a real estate attorney, because you're going to sue for seller disclosure issues, they have a lot of things that they'll run and do. They might even check in with subpoena records from home inspectors, and I don't know the link they'll go to, because you can see that it was under contract. You can clearly see that it was under contract, and then it went back from pending, or accepting backup offers, back to active. So you can see that it was under contract and then it wasn't. So that's clear. But yeah, it's always better to disclose what you know in your seller's disclosures. And yes, you should go back and do that, because you technically do know, even if the report isn't sent to you, and it's on you to, because people aren't just going to walk away for no reason. If they want to walk away for no reason, they'll just say, they decide.
Because if you negotiate, they're gonna have to fix it regardless. Now, if they're aware of it, that's the reason why I brought it up. But that's the reason why I brought it up. If now that they're aware of it, they're gonna have to fix it regardless. Why not negotiate? Because being able to back, let's say, okay, I'm gonna back out. Do you have a better chance finding it in the inspection report and having better negotiations? Because no matter what, they're gonna have to do it. If it's not you, it's somebody else, and they just wasted an additional 3 weeks. Why not negotiate? So it's a really cool negotiation part. I tell all my clients there's three possible, I say possible, not my lane, and I keep it that way. Three possible negotiations. In the beginning with the purchase agreement, the second one being the inspection, and the third one being the appraisal. Possible. Because for one, that PA, first negotiations out, that's where your real estate agent is going to shine like a star. The second one is if there's an inspection issue. Okay, are we going to make that seller concessions? Are they going to take care of it? Like I just recently had an inspection that the drain field is an issue.
Or it's not draining it off. And those are super expensive.
$1,000. And so what
That's
that's good
an
because it's
engineered
little. It's a 2 bedroom, one
30 and
bath.
up are at least 17 typically.
Okay.
So 10.
A $10,000 bill. And the buyer said, okay, because it wasn't an issue right now, but it's going to become an issue pretty quick, like within the year. And the buyer's like, okay, I'll negotiate $8,000. I thought that was fantastic because what if it turned out to be more? And the seller said, nope, put his hand up. He's like, I'll find somebody else. So once in a while, I don't have access like you do. I go and I search the house, still pending. So that seller has been sitting on that property since March. Still active, excuse
Okay.
me. Thank you for correcting me. So still active since March. So that's March payment, April, May, and June mortgage. Plus, now they have taxes. Yes, summer taxes, homeowners insurance. Look at that. It's like charge, 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 charge. Like he keeps getting charged, all because he didn't want to negotiate down to 8,000. I was like, whoa. But he just lost potentially, let's just say hypothetically, an average for that type of home, the mortgage payment would have been $1,500 plus taxes is another $200 plus homeowners insurance. Let's tack on another $100. Where are you at? Now multiply that. How many months? He already smacked that 8 grand. He already lost it. And now he has to negotiate.
They should have disclosed it. And they should have basically said, being sold as is, had someone come in and give them an estimate so they could see what it was going to cost. And then they offered, you know, either reduce the price or a concession on it, because I've had those situations. I've had situations where it says right on there, foundation issues, and here's what it costs to get it fixed. And the seller's just not going to do it. They can't. The seller just doesn't have the funds to do it. Um, and so they're just trying to get out of the house. They're being forthcoming and saying this is the situation we have, but we can't do it. So then it's like a buyer has to decide, okay, this is what it's going to cost. Do I still want this house? If it's a foundation issue, 9 out of 10 times most people are going to say no. I mean, nobody really wants to get into a situation with the foundation issue. I wouldn't personally. I don't recommend buying a house with a no.
And it's a very certain, like, area that I would say, okay, let's continue forward with this. But that inspection is so huge. And it's one of the three possible negotiations. Again, I use the word possible. So, anybody who's just tuning in now, we're talking about home inspections right in the beginning of the mortgage process and how important it is to have someone protect your family moving forward. And it's a possible negotiation. Not like you want to negotiate, but you might have to.
You have to look at what's best for you because every house is going to have issues. I remember last year, I called it the year of the bats. And again, this is where your agent and they're knowledgeable, because when you're walking through and you find out, like when I have sellers, which by the way, I was on the same list. I'm on the same list as everybody because I had the same situation. But it seemed like every house I listed, every single house I listed, the one thing that came up on the inspection report was there were bats in the attic. And like it's nothing to like be like, it's not a big deal. It's like you don't even know, especially when you have big trees. Everyone wants the big beautiful trees and the lush greenery and the privacy. Well, what comes with big trees are critters. And bats are one of them. And bats can contort themselves and they can get in anywhere every time. They can get it, they're better than a mouse. So literally, I would say 5 sellers and then myself. So quick story, I'm sleeping, my headboard was against the wall. I think okay, sorry. I don't know how that came through. So yeah, squeaking in the walls and like a little I could hear in the walls and I was like, I knew instantly what it was. I'm like, I have flipping bats. So they came out. They're like, it's not that big of a scenario. They did their cleanup, because the guanum, which is basically their droppings, those can get you really sick if they turn to dust and get in the air. Seriously, make you very sick, and that's why it's a big deal. It's a health and safety issue. And then they had to find there were 13 entrance points that they could have gotten in. So they went through and they plugged the hole so that they can't get back in. And they put like something in there so that if there were bats and they were hiding, they can only get out. But they said there wasn't anything up there. But yeah, so there's one-way door, it's only out, exit only. It's exit only, and the bats can leave. So, but yeah, because bats are protected, you can't quote kill a bat. You can get in a lot of trouble for that. It's a wildlife law. But yeah, so there's going to be things that pop up, but you just as a buyer, you need to know, because those are the things the seller does need to take care of, and you shouldn't have to do it. Now, you don't be nitpicky. And I also tell buyers, this is not a honeydew list for the seller. Like there's going to be 30 pages, and the seller is not supposed to do all these things. These are big ticket items. These are things like, yes, there's bats upstairs. Yes, there's mold in the attic, which is also extremely common, easy fix. But yeah, the seller needs to fix it. If there's water issues or foundation issues or just, something major in the roof is shot, or there's issues with the roof, things that are really expensive. Let's say the furnace didn't work properly, or it's got carbon monoxide, which is not good. Um, Anything like that. If you do a radon test and it doesn't pass, and now it needs a radon system. Again, not a big deal, but I had somebody walk away because a house needed a radon system. I'm like, the seller's gonna put it on. Well, I just don't even want it then. But why? Like the whole area has radon in the ground. It's a gas. It's there. Like you don't have to do it now. If it was showing up not now, but a year later when you had the house, you'd never know. So yay, they found it. You put the system in, the seller puts the system in, no big deal. And most of these newer houses are actually built in a certain way. I forget how they do it, but they already have it set. So if they want a radon fan system put in, it hooks right in, and it's like $700-800 instead of like 1600. Where if it doesn't, but it's still not the end of the world. But again, you just need to know what kind of inspections do I need to have? Because if you're in certain cities, you're going to need radon. In certain counties, definitely. Oakland County, all day long, you have to have radon. Washington Township, huge for radon. You should always, I would just, if I lived in Washington Township, I'd just put one in because Washington Township, huge.
Idea. Okay.
That was the house I was just, always pops up. It's just a normal thing. It's in the ground, right? So, yeah. So these things are not like kill a deal over, but you do know how to, like you said, negotiate it out, and you shouldn't be responsible for it. Big ticket items like that as a buyer. Now, if you need to put extenders on your gutters, it's like $15 at Home Depot. You're not going to ask a seller to do that. Just go buy this plastic extenders. Like, don't, yeah.
With my clients are like, we're okay living with A, B, and C, but not the rest. So we have to talk and we have to communicate regarding that.
Station. And, it's just, it's something that part of the process, it's a reason why you need a good real estate agent and a good lender, great and lender, great real estate agent, so that you have people who are helping you through the process who know, when you come up against a speed bump. First of all, the goal is to not have the speed bump if it can be avoided. A lot of things happen when you're walking through a house, and I can point a lot of things out. But when you do hit a speed bump, it's like, okay, how do we move forward with this? How do we write it up so that the underwriter doesn't freak out? How do we restructure some things? Yeah, you're not going to put it on the addendum that there's this, and this. You're just going to say concession to go towards prepaid. You're not going to say there's huge issues with this house. That's it. Don't tell about what's going on in the house. No, lenders, underwriters don't need to know. Yeah, right. It's better not to know moving forward. Yeah. Unless it's going to be something that if it's like an FHA loan and you already know they're going to come through, then it's like, yeah, you can, you need to address it. Or after the appraiser, when they hit you with it, now you've got to pay them to come back. The buyer's got to pay them to come back and reinspect it. So it doesn't make sense to not be proactive and handle the things up front.
For being here. If you're watching this as a recording, when you bought your house, did you have a home inspection? I'd love to know. And how did that turn out? Did it turn out good when you're in your home buying process? Did you say no to a house and then you found your dream home? How did that work out for you? I'm curious to know because there's so many different stories of, yeah, good and bad of this. Again, huge fan of inspectors. Your only way of getting out of it, in my mind, is if you're a builder, if you are and you fit into certain categories of an investor who's done this for a living. And that's not a lot of my clients. A lot of my clients are first-time home buyers or second-time home buyers. We're only in that cycle of 1, 2 homes purchased, not multiple where we already know what we need or don't need for an inspection. So it's just, again, the rule here, get an inspection. No matter what Holly and CC has told you right now, do not relinquish unless you know somebody who knows the engineering of a house, who understands what to look for. Because there's a lot of things that got missed or can get missed. And
So that's another reason why you want to get a referral from your agent who should know. Who do they usually refer to? or someone who's had a really good experience. But I would say you should listen to your agent if they've been in business for a decent amount of time, because that means they've done a lot of inspections, not just your neighbor had one inspection done and they love this home inspector. I'm not saying that's not a great referral, but that's one experience with this home inspector. And the home might not have had any issues. You want somebody who's been tried and true. Go online, even make sure you check all the sites, Yelp, all the things. What does anybody say about this company? Do they have a good standing online? You know, Better Business Bureau. I don't know if anyone even does that anymore, but just check, because this is someone who's going to be basically letting you know if this house is passing, and you're not walking into a money pit, because you don't want that. Nobody wants.
Great. So I'm kind of like in the back going, you can afford this. You can do it. You guys are frontline and you're here to protect the families and friends that we serve and to get them to the closing table.
Find the right home. I always say the perfect home. There's no perfect home, but the perfect home for you. What is that scenario? You have to take so many things into account, which we have so many of our episodes that were live and are logged. People can literally scour it and find. I mean, I want to say we've hit every topic there is to hit. And we still come up with new things. But yeah, it's great if you're home shopping, we have some great content for you to check out, all the things you need to know about being a buyer in today's market, being a seller in today's market. So, great conversation. Thank you again for joining me.
We like those comments. Leave comments. Be here.
I love that. Comment and talk about your inspection experience, your last home purchase experience. If you're buying a home right now, how's that going? We love interaction. So that would be amazing. And of course, don't forget to tap the bell for notifications so you know when we're live, and subscribe to the channel so we can see you Tuesdays at 2 when we're able to come live.
I really appreciate it.
Things with friends. So everybody have a fantastic week. We will see you Tuesday at 2. And again, if you have any questions, comments, put them down below and we're happy to get back to you, and maybe we'll do our next live about your comment or question. Always looking for that. Everybody have
Okay.
a great day.